Have you been struggling with poorly performing variations that just aren't driving the sales that you expected for your Amazon listings? Or maybe you've noticed that some of your best-selling listings have suddenly lost their visibility, or even worse, maybe they're getting suppressed by Amazon's system. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Managing variations can be tricky sometimes, especially when issues come up like those and they're kind of out of nowhere, even after years of smooth sailing. But today, I'm going to clear up some of that confusion that you might have in regards to Amazon product variations. Okay, so I want to share with you about variations in this video for Amazon listings and also really help you to have the tools that you need to set you up for success. But let me start with the basics. Amazon variations. They're really known as that parent-child listings. Some of the terminology, by the way, with Amazon things is kind of funny, but the parent has its own ASIN, but it is not technically its own product to be able to be sold. But then within that parent, you have what is called child listings or child ASINs as well. So it could be like if you have a 4-ounce and an 8-ounce version of your product, that would be an example of 2 child variations. And that helps you to group your products that are actually related under one listing on Amazon, which is great. Like I said, for like if you sell skincare products, for instance, and you may have other variations like the, I already mentioned size, but you could also have variations like the scent or the flavor, things like that. And the goal is really in those cases is to help the customer experience on Amazon by making it basically easier for people that are shopping to find exactly what they need. Maybe they don't need 8 ounces. Maybe they want to try the product first, and maybe they go for that 4-ounce. And it's all in one place where they can just click over. And I'm going to have on my screen an example of what that looks like when you're looking at an Amazon listing from the front end. Now, here's the catch. Amazon variations, they're great. They're really helpful, but they're actually not always easy to manage. And if you don't have them set up the right way, it actually could lead to issues. And another side note is there could be where you could be eligible for having that parent-child relationship under your listing, but that you don't have it set up the right in the back end. So you could be missing out on sales because of that. So if you have that, you're eligible, make sure to do that. That could be a little tricky, but typically you'll want to make sure it's worth that time and the effort to do that. Now, if you're doing something wrong with variations, it could lead to things like lower rankings or even suppressed listings, maybe even policy violations. So I want to dive into some of the common mistakes that we see, especially with established brands who are really scaling their Amazon sales channel for like the last 8.5 years that we've been doing this. So I'm going to highlight those issues, but also give you some actionable solutions to go along with that. So the first mistake that I see is variations are just used incorrectly. And this is when you're trying to group using variations to group products that are not related. For example, if you're trying to connect a completely different type of product under one parent listing, that confuses Amazon's algorithm, but it can also get your listings flagged, your account could get in trouble. And this is really because it's just clearly against Amazon, what Amazon allows. They have rules on what is eligible. That's why I was saying earlier, you have to make sure that it's an eligible parent-child variation, because if it's not eligible, then you can't, you could probably do it, and that's what people do, but you shouldn't do that. And I'm just going to be clear, don't do it. We recommend and like doing things that are what Amazon has laid out, especially if it's very clear. So if you're trying to hack the system, I don't think you're going to find this video helpful, so you probably don't want to watch it. But the things I share here are things that you can use because I want you to have long-term success with Amazon. So you might watch other channels that kind of talk about hacks, but I'm going to try to share things that are really helpful for your long-term success. Now, if you're trying to find a way to actually have something like a variation, then you need to make sure that you're doing the work and actually develop your product line through product development rather than just trying to trick the system. So if you think, okay, I really need some variations on this listing, well, look at the reviews, see how you can actually be offering more value to your potential customers. What are they asking for? What would they need? This could be things that you're finding out from just feedback from customers, even off of Amazon. So think about that and try to actually really build your brand in that kind of way. So an actual step for this is to stick with variations that actually are enhancing the customer experience that are allowed by Amazon. For example, the variations that are based on color, size, flavor, quantity, those are all completely fine. But if it's an unrelated product, they should have their own separate listings. The second mistake that we've seen is overlooking variation management. So many brands, they're setting up variations initially, but then they forget to optimize them over time. Now, as customers, their preferences typically are going to shift, and your best selling variation actually might change over time. So you need to be on top of that to make sure that you're adjusting your listings as needed. Look at that data that you have from Amazon, business reports. So an actionable step for this mistake is you can make it a monthly routine to review the performance data on every variation and look for things like changes in the conversion rates, look at changes in the reviews and what people are actually saying for variations, look at the customer questions that they're asking every month. And you can even use tools like Amazon has their Amazon brand analytics if you're registered with brand registry, or you can even use like a third-party software to kind of get more insights. That's really going to help you to stay ahead too of any new trends or searches that are happening. Or for instance, maybe you notice there's a drop in conversion rates. You need to take a deeper dive into why is that happening? Is your buy box being suppressed? Is there another issue? Has your product review rating maybe dropped so that it maybe moved that star to be half a star lower than what it previously was? That's going to actually matter because the shoppers on Amazon are very focused in on product reviews. They do look at price as well. So those things can obviously negatively impact your conversion rate. So make sure you're looking at that reporting. And now that we've kind of covered some of the common mistakes, I'm going to focus now on really how to turn variations into a strategic advantage for your brand on Amazon, because this is really where you can get things moving. So the first idea for you of strategy is to do continuous testing and optimization. So variation listings, I already said it, they're not set and forget. Listings in general, even if they don't have a variation, they are not a set and forget it. If you're doing that, you may have noticed your Amazon sales declining over the last few years as it's become more competitive. There are things that you can do. You can run A/B or split testing to see what product attributes, things like maybe the images or the bullet points, what is driving higher conversion rates. Amazon calls this their Amazon experiments, and that allows you to actually split test variations to identify what are some good combinations. Now, with split testing, you do want to do that the right way, since testing too many things at once can lead to confusion on what is the data actually telling you. So make sure that you're testing it. We usually like to set it to significance, or at least 4 to 8 weeks for how long it runs. And they'll look at the data, see what the data tells you. And there is like a nice little feature in experiments where you can just basically mark whatever the winning one is. Like if you're split testing A+, if you're split testing a main image, it'll just push that through as your new main image or your new A+. Now, the second is to leverage that data for variation scaling. So once you have identified like your really high performing variations, then you should look at how can you scale it. So for example, let's say you have a 16-ounce version and it is outselling your 8-ounce. Consider this might be showing you that there is a good indicator that people want the larger sizes. So you may want to introduce a 32-ounce option. So the key there is really to listen to your customers, also anticipate their needs. So obviously you're looking at Amazon reviews. You should be also, off of Amazon building an email list and talking to your customers and getting more data from them as well on what they want, what they need, what they would like to see. And that's really where you should be paying attention, like I said, to those new product reviews that come through. That's why I think that product reviews on Amazon are a great thing. And it is a concern when people are trying to manipulate the system, because that data is actually going to be helpful. Even a negative review is going to be helpful because you should always be looking at improving your business. But you do want to kind of keep a pulse. What are customers asking for? And you can and should be doing, like I said, that off of Amazon as well. You're going to think about your most ideal target, primary customers, those target avatars, and pay attention also to your competitors on Amazon. See what kind of offerings that they have. You might see that, there's new product opportunities available. Could be a different size. It could be even a different format. So if, for instance, you're selling something that is more of a lotion consistency, maybe you want a different modality of that. So think about like an oil or some other kind of form that you could be using for your product that could offer value to customers. Next, you want to align, your variations with Amazon policies. So you want to avoid those policy violations. So you do want to regularly check Amazon's guidelines because those rules can change, and you just want to be paying attention to anything that might be updated, and any kind of misstep it could lead to your listing getting suppressed. Now, remember, if your listing is suppressed, that means you're missing out on sales. So that's why you want to pay attention to it and you want to be proactive. So if you want to learn more about suppressed listings, for instance, and fixing those, make sure to watch my video I did here because I dig more into that and how to fix those. So an actual step for this one that I just shared is you can look at, make sure you're monitoring and checking Amazon Seller Central updates regularly and kind of put it on a regular basis so that you're not just kind of haphazardly doing it, but consistently doing that. And also, I would recommend doing like a quarterly audit to make sure that you're compliant with everything. And if you're interested in getting a, Amazon like free account audit checklist, I'm going to have a link in the description box below and you can grab a copy where it'll help walk you through how to review your Amazon account. And that'll really help you to make sure that you're not missing something or could be doing something that would actually help grow your sales more. Okay. So now let's get a little bit more technical. Now there's going to be troubleshooting sometimes. It'll happen with variation issues. Those can be headaches, especially if you're trying to scale quickly and you're thinking about how much your time is worth and your bandwidth that you have is limited, right? Going back and forth with seller support is probably not on the list of things that you want to be doing. Most people don't. But you do want to look, for instance, if there's an issue of like a suppressed or a block listing, you want to make sure if your variations are getting suppressed, check for Amazon policy compliance and your product data accuracy. So Amazon system, it's always improving and they're getting better and better, but typos or different things can trigger their system. So just pay attention to that. So a way to kind of take action on that is you could be leveraging Amazon's listing quality dashboard, and that will help you to identify and fix any kind of red flags that you're seeing. And for larger catalogs, you might want to use bulk upload files so you can more quickly update those listings. And I'm going to have like on the screen really quickly of like where to go to find that. Now, the second issue that you could be dealing with is variations that aren't showing up in searches. Now, that can be poor keyword optimization on that particular variation. Amazon's algorithm is going to really consider those parent listings. So make sure that you're optimizing your keywords for all of your variations, not just one of the child variations, right? And then kind of a quick little action step to take for that is regularly conduct keyword research. And you can use tools like Helium 10, for instance, to really optimize your listing content for all of your variations. And if you're new to Helium 10 and if you're interested in that, I do have a coupon link in the description box below if you're interested. It's there. Now, let me kind of wrap up with some best practices for managing variations throughout your product lifecycle. So you've got your product launch. That's really when you're focusing in on creating a few key variations to really test the market. So you want to use things like Amazon's early review program, the Vine program. You want to gather those initial reviews. And typically during that launch phase, you're not going to necessarily want to build a ton of variations since you're trying to make sure that you're validating more about your products and really expanding based on the feedback that you hear from the reviews, like I was telling you, and from your customers. Then you've got more of your growth phase. That's kind of like in the middle after you've kind of launched and you're kind of getting traction, right? Then you can look at how can I be expanding my variations strategically. So you want to look at adding options that are based on customer feedback and data insights. So you could be pairing this, for instance, with like trends and growth in Amazon keyword searches for a new product that you could be adding as a variation. Remember, when people come to a child listing, they're going to see all of your offers, all of the other child ASINs. So this is a great option for more visibility, especially on, terms that are increasing in their trend in general or just becoming like trending. So if you see people searching for specific, for instance, sites that you don't offer yet, that would be a good indicator of something that maybe you haven't seen those in the reviews, but you could be looking at the data and keyword research to tell you that. Now we got the phase of like the maturity phase. And that's really when you're going to scale actually down at this point of your underperforming variations. And then you're going to double down on your best sellers. So you may not want to drive as much traffic to those variations that aren't converting as well, the ones that are slower sellers. And that's a good thing because then when they get to the listing, they can choose what option works best for them. Then the very, very last phase you got is the end of your life cycle for your product. That is where you're gradually kind of phasing out those low performing variations And then you're going to be focusing in on managing your inventory to avoid, excess stock and keeping things in stock as well too. And that can really be helpful. If you're trying to reduce your costs, you're really trying to optimize your business, scale it and grow it up, get more margin, things like that. So you do have to pay attention to how much inventory you're keeping at Amazon. Is it worth keeping it there? This is usually when you're going to see like an end of the life for some of your products variations, and you're going to try to use less of that space for those that you're going to want to phase out within the options of, your product variations, because you want to be able to use less space, especially when you think about, peak storage season right now, like Q4. Everything costs more to store into Amazon during this time. It's hot real estate, if you will, at Amazon warehouses. So as you can see, there's a lot to managing Amazon variations, but effectively you have to take a strategic approach, especially if you're an established business and you're looking to really maximize your growth. So remember, the goal is you want to make the customer shopping experience on Amazon seamless while you're optimizing for Amazon's algorithm, because things are being searched on Amazon. So you do want to pay attention to keywords, what's trending, what people are saying. And if you want to learn more about split testing, for instance, because I mentioned Amazon experiments that you can be running, I think that you'll find this next video really helpful here.